Mac Gupta, Senior Director for Marketing at Rocket Software. Welcome. It's great to have you here. How are you seeing agencies thinking about artificial intelligence as it applies to their cyber operations? How are they combining those two concepts together?
That is a hot topic nowadays, Francis, for sure. To me, AI is more like a co-pilot, not an autopilot. AI can ingest large amounts of data, spot patterns, explain what's going on, maybe speed up responses, but it does come down to people having those insights and making those smart decisions. So I think agencies are pretty bought into the fact that AI is supporting their cybersecurity efforts rather than taking over.
A lot of the discussion here about cyber regards resilience and readiness and recovery. How are you seeing organizations thinking about cyber resilience, especially in the context of having AI tools now to help them automate the way that they're monitoring systems and so on?
I think in that context, I always want to talk about blind spots. So when you talk about blind spots, what we are basically saying is, what is it that agencies are not thinking about is probably where some of the hackers and attackers are going. And one spot for that is their core mission critical systems, such as the mainframe. Agencies assume that access controls are enough, but that's not really true. In today's world, you have to assume that there are actors inside the system already in your network. So you have to protect your crown jewels, so to speak. And multi-factor authentication is a good example of how you do that.
The zero trust effort that we're hearing a lot about here, that the Defense Department has been moving on for a couple of years now, have a couple more years to hit deadlines. What's your sense of what it will take for them and the progress that they've made so far as getting them to the end state that they want to reach?
Well, zero trust, let me start with level setting a little bit because there is a lot of confusion out there. Zero trust is not about denying access per se. It's more about figuring out who can have access to what, when, where, and how. So it's about smarter trust decisions. So federal agencies are typically pretty confused about what path they should take, where they should start, or where they should focus their efforts. And so my recommendation would be essentially start with simple MFA, single sign-on. Make sure you're not building a maze, but you're creating smart walls around your data and applications and infrastructure, and making sure that you then build from there once you have experience doing that.
Yeah, you mentioned the confusion that exists around zero trust and the conceptual, perceptions that people have of it. What do you think's generated that? And the reason I ask is because it's helpful then to understand what has to happen to maybe remove that confusion.
I think some of it is just the term zero trust, and that seems to imply that you trust no one and verify, which is a good way to go. I think the part of the confusion is, why is it needed? Agencies seem to believe that access control that they have in place, or highly secure enterprise systems like mainframe, so it does seem like a new policy that they have to check off, but that's not really the case. I think it's important to understand the intent behind the letter of the law, so to speak, the policy, and then follow those guidelines in a way that it makes sense to your environment. One of the things, for example, the zero trust enables is the fact that if you have an actor already in the system, you want to make sure you segment your systems. So once they're in, they're not just freely roaming around. So that's the kind of thing that makes zero trust compliance systems a lot stronger than they would have otherwise been.
We just have less than a minute left. You mentioned blind spots earlier. What are the best ways that you've seen to close those blind spots?
Very quickly, doing regular automated deep scans. We call them integrity vulnerabilities that you want to make sure that hackers are not exposed to, because they can cause a lot of damage without the alarm bells go off.
It's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me, Mac.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Francis.